Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Live from the Westmount Shul. Still operating after the Premier's announcement allowing synagogues to have gatherings of 10. So we don't have 10. We have less than 10 in this room. So we're good. We've been talking about the different levels of Bitul, as Rav Morgenstern explains in the Sefer Bayom Darkecha. And we said the first level of Bitul is nullifying yourself to accept the yoke of heaven, where you certainly acknowledge that you exist and you completely exist, but you acknowledge that there is a king, and even though you're the principal thing, but you now at least know there is a king who's outside of you. And when you know there's a king, you have to give up your will before the king. So at this point, you feel totally you are you, but you acknowledge there's an outside external reality, and you have to comply with that, as we do in kingship. You live in your house, you don't feel you have that much of a connection with the king, but you don't break the laws. So those that are complying with the COVID restrictions, you don't feel you have a lot to do with the government, but you don't want to get in trouble, so you comply. Second step, we said, was Bitul Hamidos, where you start to nullify a little part of yourself. You start to connect and have a little bit of feeling to Hashem, and that Hashem is not just an external reality in your life, but it's a part of your life. And in this level, you begin to have certain feelings about Hashem. And we said the analogy of that is family. That although when you have family, they are not just an external pest in your life, I hope, but there should be love, feelings towards each other, even though you still feel you're primary, but you've let someone else into your primary life, and you really take consideration about what they do. That was the second level. That's where we're up to as of yesterday. So now we move to the third level. Now remember, you have to take time with each level. Don't jump from one level to the next. We're on page Nun Daled, and we're right over here. Bitul Hayesh. That's the third category. It should be big enough, yes? That's not really big. That's enormous, I hope. So he says, Hamadrega Shlishis, the third level, Madrega Vo is a higher level. Vinyana, the concept is, Shahadam Misbonain. Person reflects, so you start thinking about the reality of Hashem and his greatness to the point when you now begin to feel that compared to Hashem, I am not important at all. Ukamo Talmud Liad Rabo, just like a student in front of his Rebbe. Yelet Katan Liad Godel Hador, or let's say a small child in front of the biggest rabbi of the generation. That's what do we call it? Self-effacement, where you see, wow, that guy's great. I'm nothing compared to him. So you start to really think about what Hashem is and how great he is. And I'm totally not important when I feel the greatness of God. That's called Bitul Hayesh. You're nullifying that somethingness of you. You realize I can't fool myself and think I'm a something. So now things reverse a little bit. But Madrega Zu on this level, Hoda Margish as Hashem Yisbarach Ke'ikar. The person feels that Hashem is primary. That's Atzmo Kitafel. And now you begin to feel yourself as supplementary. Which means, even though you still sense that you have a reality, and maybe even an independent reality still. So one thing you know, his reality is not significant, because God's is much more significant. And how does that happen? That's when the person reflects and feels how Hashem gives life and gives existence to everybody. When he thinks about himself. How do I exist from moment to moment? It's only it's only from the flow of life that stream, like Zerem is electricity. So it like electrifies, goes through you and keeps you alive. That's exactly how I'm living. It's totally, I'm on life support from Hashem. Consequently, she understands and feels. Hashem is the main thing. And he feels himself as totally a supplementary thing. He has no importance, no somethingness. But still, even with that lofty feelings, he feels that he is here and I'm getting life from Hashem, but I still sense my reality. And below, Ayin Zion, remember talking about the spiritual worlds. So now we're going higher up now. We're going up to the world of Bria. Shinikra Baloshan Arizal, the Rebbe says, Rubo Tov, it's mostly good, Umiyutara, only a little bit bad. When a person is standing on such a level, he sees Hashem. He sees himself as a small thing, like a small thing. When he's talking about these different worlds, you see, that's a hard topic because there's a lot of Kabbalah over here. We talk about worlds, the four worlds, the four all exist concurrently, and they're out there. You just have to know where to put yourself and where to find this world. So the world of Asiya down here, we says, Kula, it's all bad. Whatever you see, it looks totally independent from Hashem. And many people live in that realm where, yeah, there's a God. And in this realm, planet Earth, Asiya, what do I see? I see billions of people live on their own. Don't really see a lot of Hashem. You got these laws and you're told to keep them. Okay. So if we're lucky, we say, I keep Hashem. Okay. But then if you become more sensitive, and begin to realize that there's a God that you love, they have a connection with, you're ascending another world. Again, this is no different than, I'm in this room. Let's say I'm in this room and you two guys are here. You're nice guys and everything, but you're not my family. Okay. And I'm here and you're there. I want to be a civilized person. So there's general rules of conduct that should have to be civilized with you guys. Okay, I'm taking the mashal in a secular way right now, not a religious way. Okay, I'm not talking about, all Jews are supposed to love every Jew and all this. I'm just saying, so I'll be civil with you. But really, I don't really care a lot about your feelings. I just don't want to break the law. And, I have business with you, but that's about it. I go home and I don't care about you. That's one realm. But let's say my child is in that chair. My child in that chair, there's a different world between me and him, even though I'm in this world. But the world with you, I don't share the world that I share with him. Because there's a natural affinity and love towards him. And those feelings going back and forth, it's another level of reality. At the same time, they have a reality with you guys. That's called Yitzira. That's a level where we're touching on our feelings and emotions. Where with you guys, I don't have necessarily feelings or emotions per se. It's all action. But then there's another realm. And the next realm, we're saying, is the world of Bria, which is a higher level of understanding. And what's the mashal to that? V'mashal zehu eved is a servant. Shudavar hakayim b'fnei something that stands before itself, aval ein lo chashivus, but has no importance. Elo kalkul lo miyud rak l'sharis adon. His whole essence is to serve the master. V'uba matzav, and he's in a situation. Yesh lo mitzias la'atzmo. He does have his independent reality. Aval ein lo chashivus, has no importance. So now let's put a third person in the room, guys. Right over there is my boss, my master. I can't do anything without his permission. I have another level of reality that I'm sensing. Every time I'm looking at him, I'm saying, I'm with your permission, please. Can I do this, please? When I'm teaching you Torah, I might even think I'm important. And with my kids, I might think I'm important. But in front of my master, he owns me. I can't feel that I'm important. It's another level of reality. These are all levels. They're all simultaneous. So, like, what level of relationship do you want to have with Hashem in this world? Is it just that he's the boss and I have to follow him? But if you understand a little bit deeper that that's like family, then that I love him, that creates a different reality, and the way I view Hashem is differently. And if I know he's my master and I'm a servant, that's another reality. So that's the third level over here, where you realize that I'm there, but I'm totally insignificant. Next page, Nun Hey. We come to the fourth level. First level, as we said yesterday, let me just show you the words again. That's okay. Where am I? Not Nun Zion. Oh, why am I flipping it around? It's easier. The first level is accepting the Bitul of accepting the yoke of heaven. You're accepting the yoke of heaven. That's the first Bitul. It's called the nullification towards the yoke of heaven. Okay. The second one is the nullification of your midos, your feelings. And the third one is the nullification of self, of the somethingness of yourself. Now on page Nun Hey. Oh, man. Where is Nun Hey? There it is. Fourth one, Bitul b'metzius, actual nullification. The real deal. A Madrega Ravis, the fourth level is a Madrega Shleimus Abitul, the completion, the perfection of nullification, total nullification. Vinyan, the concept is Sha'aram Kolkach Margish as Metzius Hashem Yisbarach. You feel Hashem's reality so much. In a Margish as Metzius Atzma Klal. You don't feel your reality at all. You don't even feel that you exist. Umadregas unikras Bitul b'metzius. This level is called actual nullification, the real nullification. Umadregas uhi beikar nikras Bitul. And this is the actual terminology. When we talk about Bitul, this is when you've hit the jackpot. You've hit complete Bitul. Up to now, it's partial a little bit, but not real Bitul. This is the actual Bitul, where you just totally, you don't feel yourself at all. There are no independent, self-serving feelings that are coming out of you. Doesn't mean you don't feel. Does not mean you do not feel and you're cold and heartless. You have lots of feelings, but the feelings are directed towards Hashem and others and not to yourself. A person in complete Bitul senses Hashem's pain when Jews are sinning. The only thing that's disturbing you is, oh, Hashem feels terrible. It's not what I feel at all. It's not even what I feel. Hashem is the whole reality. He must feel terrible about this. Another Jew is suffering. You're saying, oh, Hashem must be suffering so much, and another Jew is suffering. And for sure that Jew is suffering. Now, when it becomes a question of what should you do, it's not a question of, well, I should do something, but I got to see if it fits into my schedule. Wait a minute, it has to fit into your schedule. What do you mean it has to fit into your schedule? What do you mean? I got a lot of things I want to do. Wait a minute. But what does Hashem want you to do? That should be the first thing on your mind. So that's, so you're not that yet, quite there yet. But that's Bitul b'metzius. So let's take a look at this. Ayin Ches. Now, mystically, that's the spiritual world of Atzilus. From the word Eitzel, like right next to Hashem. Shenikra b'lashon Rizal Kula Tov. That's all good. When you're at that level, Margish Rak as Hashem. You only feel Hashem. Without any concealment and barrier of your own, of any other feelings. That's the point of truth. That's the real reality. You've confronted the real reality. You really don't exist. We'll talk about more of that philosophical underpinnings another page or two. The nimshal masum, what's the analogy of that? Bain, a child. Ki as the Gemara calls him kara davu, it's the leg of the father. He's a part of his father. She's galab. It's just been revealed in a new way. A child is nothing more than an extension of the father. It's the father. And that's why when a child does mitzvahs, it will help a father, even though the father's not alive, because it's mamish, part of the father. So when a child is next to a son in a normal world, he's not even looked at as an independent reality. There's only the father. And that's the reason why we have the mitzvah of kibbud avein. Why is the mitzvah of honoring your father and mother on the right side of the luchas, which are only the mitzvahs between man and God? Because that's what it's about. You have to honor your parents as a way of modeling and practicing. I have to nullify yourself before Hashem. A child in front of a father, that's why you don't contradict your father. I mean, but I can contradict him. No, you can't. Because he's not God. You don't have any existence. The only way you could do it, you could say, well, the Torah says this and that. So it's like you're just quoting the Torah, but you're not. It's like Hashem, it's not you. Now look at this. Look at the brackets. Why don't children feel that way? Do you see kids when they're in front of their parents? They feel like they don't exist when they're in front of their father. If anything, they feel their parents don't exist, except their credit card exists. So why don't they feel this? Because the real truth is, the father only gives a certain part to the son. But his actual soul is not bound to the father. In other words, a parent can only give so much. God gives everything. So that's why it's hard for people to feel that way, because at the end of the day, my father only gave me so much, not everything. Right? But the Torah wants us to feel more, because remember, the Torah, it's the partnership of man, woman, and God that creates the child. So therefore, you got to have, again, a certain level of Bitul before parents as practice for Bitul before Hashem. So again, if your father was here and you were a good practicing Jew in respect to your father, you'd feel like nothing in front of your father. You won't even think about yourself. So these are the 4 levels. Let's just do a drop more, and then I'll take your question. Let me just finish the page, take another 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and there'll be lots of time for questions. Umadregazu in this level, a person reaches, he merits to reach such an awesome recognition of the reality of Hashem and his uniqueness. It's so much alive in him. Till he feels that mamish, everything is only the light of Hashem. That's all I see everywhere. And therefore, consequently, he doesn't even sense his existence. It's like he feels like he's melted. Inside the awesome supernal light. It's like you just feel dissolved into that light, that you don't really exist at all. Nun Aintes. And in this level, when it's really perfected, you only can merit it if you're cleaned out from the klipos. Remember those klipos, the external delusions of reality, where you think it's the fruit that's giving you the good taste, but it's really not. It's all the manifestation of Hashem that's giving you that taste. So you got to remove all those klipos. If you're on this level, that's what it means, a tzaddik. Because all his actions are repaired and accepted before his will is accepted, because there's no mixture of evil. This This is a true level. And we should all feel this. Liros bebehiras gemara, to see with such a complete clarity. As amitas mitzias is the true reality of Hashem and the oneness of Hashem. You really internalize there is no other but Hashem reality. There's no independent reality outside of Hashem. However, as long as a person's got some of those klipos, you're looking at those shells and you think the shells are the reality. It clouds up the proper reality and the clarity. It begins to fool the person in an independent reality. And I'm an independent, I'm an important guy too. What I think is also important. And if those klipos get stronger, you get a lot of klipos, you don't even feel that God exists at all. He knows intellectually there is such a God, but that's it. Means Rabbi Yossi, if the klipos get really strong, it totally pushes out the relative Hashem. And who is that? That name of that person is Paro. That's why we're learning this. Paro, that's what did he tell Moshe? Does not exist, period. Now, what do you think? What do you think the purpose of the 10 plagues was? To move us in this direction of Bitul. Step by step by step. That's what's supposed to be happening over here. Paro was so much into his kavod, he couldn't even accept. He had so many klipos. He thought the superficiality was so much of reality to the point where he totally denied God's existence. And he would do crazy things just so he will feel more, right? He got up early every day. Why? Why'd he have to get up early every day? Because he told everybody he was God. Now, if you're God, like one of the rules of being God is you don't got to go to the bathroom. So what would Paro do? He'd get up really early before sunrise. He'd go to the Nile River and relieve himself when nobody was there. And then some of the whole day, he wouldn't go to the bathroom. Now, let's think about this for a minute. So now they're going to believe he's a God. Now, he's very powerful. He's a very powerful king. And if they knew he'd go to the bathroom, would that take away his power? No, because he rules with an iron hand. So they just won't think he's God. But he still will have total power. Total power he had. Whatever he said, they had to listen. But see to what crazy ends he went. Can you imagine what you think there were times when he had a little diarrhea where he maybe just had to go in the middle of the day? He has to hold it in for 6-7 hours. All for what? So people will just think a little bit more. That's how he only thought of himself. He's watching his country being destroyed. He doesn't care. There's like zero. There's nothing but me. Hashem is like a zero.
This is the same Pharaoh, but isn't the same Pharaoh who walked into the Nile and then the Nile overflowed because of Yaakov?
Yeah, so it's convenient to forget about that.
And then would that have continued that blessing? Because
Yeah, so then you forget about Yaakov. It's all because of me, because I'm God. I took over Yaakov's godliness. Okay, I didn't forget about Rick. Let me finish this. And if the klipos, God forbid, get really strong, I said that already, right? I don't remember what I said. I was like, he comes to a position where he doesn't feel Hashem at all. He just knows Hashem exists. Yeah, we did that. That it depends how much you're clean from the klipos. Based on the cleanliness and the purity from the klipos, that's how he lives and feels the truth of Hashem's reality. Vidalad madregos, and these 4 levels, these are 4 expressions of a person moving. La'at meha klipos. Do you see now what we're talking about? Yetzias Mitzrayim. What's the Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim? What do we have to get out of? Not to geographic Egypt. We had to get out of the klipos. You got to get out of the klipos. So I got to think about this, but the four, is it interesting? There are four expressions of redemption. And how many levels of Bitul? Four. So what was there's a machlok exactly what the four levels are. Well, machlok is what the four levels are. But on a simplistic level, they didn't have to work anymore. After Kinim, they didn't have to work anymore. And they began to see what Hashem could do. Jews began to realize, there is something called a God. Right? There is something called a God. Maybe I have to accept the fact that there is a little bit of God. And how about when the Jews come out of Egypt? Do you think they might start having some feelings about God? Second expression of redemption. The third expression was at the Sea of Reeds. Zekeli Vanvedu, this is my God, and I will glorify him. Do you think they felt like nothing in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu by that point? Like your mom is nothing in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yeah? It's a good Parsha class. And finally, the fourth was Maimed Har Sinai. And what happened? The neshamas went out of them. Mamish understood they don't exist at all. And Hashem revived them from the dead. You follow? So the four expressions of redemption following these four levels of Bitul. When did we become the most free? When we were the most batel to Hashem. And that's the avoda of Shoivavim. Okay, Rick, what was your question? You're so patient. Thank you.
So to me, you're graduating from one level to the next, but you mentioned that they can exist simultaneously. And so I don't understand.
No, it can mean, in other words, the worlds exist. There can be four of us in the room, or I can relate to you on one level, to him on another level, to him on another level, to him on another level. These worlds exist simultaneously. Who's cued into those worlds? The world of Atzilus exists at the same time as Bria, Yitzir, and Asiya. They all exist. Question is, what wavelength are you turned into? So the more you're mavatal yourself, the higher the frequency, or the lower the frequency you're able to hear. I don't know how it works, but you hear a different frequency. So this is exactly what we're going through now. It's perfect to learn this during Shovavim, because it's all about Bitul. Paro could not be mavatal a drop towards Hashem. By the end of the story, he said, just go. But still, he wasn't reaching the level. But the Jew, slowly, we had zero relationship with Hashem. Zero. First expression of redemption. Okay, I'm God. There is a God. And then a little bit more. I have a relationship with him. I carry it. He's a little bit more. And then I feel so insignificant. Finally, I would just render ourselves totally nullified before Hashem. And when that happens, the taint of the snake left the Jewish people. And they could have lived forever had they not sinned with the golden calf. Okay, this is what we're trying to achieve in Shovavim, to work on our Bitul, slowly, one parsha after another, working on one. And every parsha is another parsha. This week's parsha, the third plague. Last week's parsha, we had zero. We were zero on the graph. This week, by the end of this Shabbos, you should hit the first level. There's a God who makes some rules. By next week, we go out of Egypt next week. So next week, we got to begin to have feelings to Hashem. The next week, B'Shalach, the Sea of Reeds. Boy, am I insignificant in front of Hashem. And finally, Parshas Yisro, God gives the Torah, we're totally nullified. That's the avoda. I don't think we can do it in 4 weeks, but Hashem is showing us clearly how that all works and fits. Okay, let's just finish this last part. El Elohim Daled Madregas. These are 4 levels of Bitul. Shem Daled Madregas Bar Goshes Mitzvus Yisparach. Those are 4 levels of feeling the reality of Hashem. B'chol Adam, B'chol Madregas, Tzarech Lalos B'hem Lefi Sirum. Everybody has to follow this order. There's 4 expressions of redemption, and we have to redeem ourselves the same way. with that bitul. Footnote, pay. Kol madregas sheshva madregas aga madregas. And each level has levels within levels. Don't think it's just 4 straight levels. V'aderachi, and the way is betchil yikanis lahargish kabbalah soul. So first just feel to accept the yoke. V'achar shamargish mat, when you feel that a little bit, yamshich lekanis lahargish avav yirad vegas. Try to feel a little bit of love, fear, and cleaving. V'achar shamargish gam osma, when you feel that a little bit, yikanis this bonus reflect at shigas ma'at bitla yesh. Start feeling a little bit of nullifying your somethingness. And finally, just finishing up the footnote, Vikasheroa Shekona Ma'at, say you see a little of that. Yala Hargish Ma'at Bitul Matzis, try to feel a little bit of you totally nullified your reality. Ma'at, and when you feel a little bit of that, Yala Bitul Etzam, and then to completely nullify yourself. Here's the point. Don't feel I have to have totally fixed one level before I even start the second. He's not saying that. You begin to feel the yoke of Hashem. You're going to listen. Don't wait till you're 100% there. Dabble at the second level a little bit. You're never going to get any one level right away. It's going to take a real long time. With lots of repetition. Alfei Pamim Mamish, 1,000 times. Every time a little more. Until you've been at a long time to really think about that level. When you do it many, many times, you see, I really don't have that much of an acquisition of that level. Because you revert back to your regular nature and it becomes hard. Work a little harder, until you're totally perfected. That becomes your total new nature. But the point is, value every little success, at every level, and go slow, the entire ladder. These are the 4 steps. Now that we have them, later he'll discuss how we get to them. But Baruch Hashem, we now are going to tomorrow start right at the top of page Nun Vav, which we're going to discuss the question that Stan asked. If it's all Bitul, what does it pay for me to do anything? And that's going to be tomorrow's discussion. Okay, shkoyach everybody.